thank you for having us here at the Meta headquarters.
You're welcome. I'm glad you came and we can talk about some fun things going on in the industry.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Could you please introduce yourself? Who are you?
Sure. My name is Sy Choudhury. I manage and help the AI partnerships efforts that we have across our company.
Okay. Now, to warm up the conversation a little bit, we're going to talk about, obviously, artificial intelligence.
Yep.
How has AI impacted your personal life?
We use AI in so many of our products that I end up using myself. So as an example, we use AI in hand tracking. And that's one of the features where you can actually use a headset without a controller. Most people don't think of that as AI, but that's something that we do all the time. Another thing is I use AI on a personal basis to actually, summarize and look through web results. I mean, in this day and age, to actually get those hundreds of links seems a lot of work when you can actually get a wonderful summary from the web search engine, which uses AI. And last but not least, even for productivity reasons internally, there's so many documents out there to go search when you're looking for a topic. For example, the other day I need to find how to get a visa for a different country. And I used our internal AI toolset to be able to summarize what are the pages and the resources internally that I could quickly go to actually find out more information.
So it enhances your life to get things faster, right?
It's actually helped in kind of boosting my productivity, both at work, but also more my ability to get to interesting information quicker.
Okay. Now, we are both techies.
Mm-hmm.
We see, especially with the late, let's say 2023 has been, a lot of things have changed.
Yep.
And more people are, let's say the common people are more commonly using AI technology and
Yep.
with large language models. But how do you think this technology can also be used, for example, in the blue collar industry and the manufacturers or other places?
Yeah, I think we're going to start to see a lot of uses of language models and generative models to empower humans to do creative things like they've never done before. So, for example, where previously you needed a really somebody who really knew the art tools to be able to do some kind of 3D drawing, which would go into a workshop, like a 3D CAD type program. Now you can have somebody who's actually knows how to use a different set of tools, generative AI visual tools, as an example, to actually go through and tweak their ideas just by voice, natural language, to be able to come up with completely different ideas of images that could then go into the CAD program itself. In the same way, we think of language models really as something that's, that end users can do to summarize documents and things like that. But if you think about what you're putting in front of a normal worker can actually use some of these tools to be able to get at information much quicker, be able to find information much quicker, and then really bring a new level of value add to the work that they're doing.
So back again, productivity.
Productivity.
Right? Yeah. So really helps to get people do more and better.
A lot of the tools of AI historically have been around kind of under the hood, and you as a human didn't know how you were using it to make your life better. So here's a good example. So all those fun stickers and effects you can put on your face when you're doing filters, a lot of that uses AI, because what's the AI part of it is it's tracking your eyes and nose, etc. But you're just seeing that the fun filter gets put onto your face itself. But now, fast forward, the user is actually interacting with the AI to make the thing happen quicker. And a lot of those use cases are really around productivity, around delightful new experiences, like write me a poem in this style because I want to express something heartfelt to somebody, but I don't have the exact words. I have the right words, but I'm actually directing that now. Whereas previously you were just kind of passively sitting by and enjoying the fruits of AI. I think it's the right way to say it. Now you're proactively, as whether you're a consumer or whether in a business sense, you're proactively leaning in and using those same tools to have some pretty cool outcomes.
Yeah, if you think just about all the filters, as you said, millions of people are using it.
Millions of people are using AI all the time, and businesses have been using AI across the board. Again, in a much more behind the scenes way, and that's going to change to be again really front and center.
Yeah.
I'll give you a really good example of behind the scenes. So, Meta, previously Facebook, has been using AI to flag misinformation for years. Most of the posts that have misinformation get taken down by our AI classifiers. And this has been something that's been going on for quite a while. There are all kinds of banks and financial institutions that look for fraudulent transactions that immediately get flagged or even taken down through the use of AI. These are two good examples of how AI has been so successfully used by enterprises behind the scenes. What's changing now is AI can actually be brought, specifically used with the use of generative AI, right in front of the consumer, right in front of the end user itself. So Meta, for example, released our AI agents, fun agents that you can loop into a messaging conversation to ask about information or about travel or food or lifestyle, other different lifestyles and health type of things. This is now the end user interacting with an AI to find out more things about, for example, their trip to Greece, right? Similarly, the same banks that I was talking about are now going to be utilizing AI to actually have a much more interactive and really personal interaction with the consumer. For example, when they're looking at what are the different kinds of loans that are available to me, what makes the most sense, the different interest rates, the trade-offs, et cetera, and knowing their, credit history, a lot of this nuance would really would be something that would be very hard to do at scale for a company like a bank. But now using generative AI, some of these same experiences can bring right to the consumer in a kind of a very front and center type of way.
So actually now we can combine those two things where you have, for example, the loan offers that could be generated by a backend machine learning model, and then the Gen AI to be able to have the conversation about which one could be the best for you.
Absolutely. So, for example, as you were talking about, there are models that do both risk analysis. There are models that do recommendations, et cetera. And then you have generative AI that can actually take that all, package it up, and put it into both a conversational context, but also a personalized context as it relates to that user.
Okay. Now, we're talking about generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
Meta developed the Llama models.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a little bit more information about what the Llama model exactly is and do?
Sure. Llama is a family of large language models. It's a whole suite of models, from a pre-trained model to a chat conversational model, all the way through to coding models. One of the reasons we released Llama to open source is we deeply believe that AI shouldn't be limited only to a select few companies. And so we really believe that we need to democratize AI and make sure that it's available across the spectrum so that researchers, small companies and large companies alike can actually use the same technology and build their own AI-based experiences. Specifically, one of the benefits of Llama is that it's released in the open. And with openness, you get a lot of benefits. Think about open source code. Open source code benefits because when companies use it, they find bugs and errors, and they actually either fix it or report it and it gets fixed. Or they make performance improvements. They make feature improvements. And large language models are no different. With large language model being open, like Llama, you get the benefit of companies using it. We call it the community, but companies and enterprises using it that are reporting errors and hallucinations that we get to fix in the next release. And that benefits not just all the companies, but it also benefits Meta. And so the open movement to be able to, the open movement around open source is completely applicable to open LLMs as well. And that's where Llama is actually one of the leading open LLMs.
Okay. Now, these kind of models, if you want to deploy it on your own servers or make it actually just being able to call it,
yep.
It's not always that easy.
Yep.
Are there options to get that done in an easier way?
Sure, absolutely. So, there's really two options around how to enable language models. If you have a deep engineering team that can do DevOps, that actually work on fine-tuning the model for your use, can set up a system to ingest information from a database like through RAG, then using and configuring a model on your own, like using Azure's model catalog, completely makes sense. But that's only a certain set of companies that can do that. It's usually mid to very large size companies. And you have to be really focused on the problem you're trying to solve. Another way, which is really much more scalable, is through a hosted API. With a hosted API, it's literally, you set up an account, you pay as you go. And at the end of the day, behind the scenes, what different companies have done is set up the model, work to make sure it performs very well, and is available literally through a very simple, web API. And so the hosted API model, we believe, really complements something like a model catalog. And this is one of the reasons we're working with Microsoft to not only enable Llama on model catalog, but also enable Llama as a model as a service, MAAS as it's called, through a hosted API approach, so that a lot of companies that are either do not have the engineering team or maybe want to just get started very quickly can easily access essentially the power of the Llama LLM models, but through a simple API.
Okay. You just say it's simple API. That means more people get access to it.
Yep.
We also know when people get great power, those models are quite powerful and what they can do. That
Yep.
Also, they might develop things that are a bit shady, you could say. How do you interact with that?
As we were developing the core LLM technology itself, we put a lot of thought into both fixing errors and hallucinations, as well as safety and security. So as an example, Llama has over 1 million human annotations. Llama 2, when it was released, has 1 million human annotations to fix errors and hallucinations before it was released. There are over 3 million different companies now contributing to this. Actually, let me take that back. Hold on. There are over 3,000 companies now contributing to fixing additional errors and hallucinations actively onto the platform itself. But that's not all. You need to also make sure that you are training the model so that it is safety. You're training the model so it adheres to safety and security first. And so we've started a project called Purple Llama, which basically tunes the model to be more of a safety guardian itself. And in the Purple Llama project actually comes with not just the model, but also a set of evaluation benchmarks that are focused on cybersecurity benchmarks. This is a continuation of our work. For example, at the Black Hat conference, we sponsored a hackathon to actually determine and find more safety loopholes that we can fix. And so through using human annotators to fix errors and hallucinations, safety versions of the model, as well as sponsoring hackathons to try to find more errors, these are all aspects of activities we're doing to essentially make the Llama ecosystem better, but make the Llama model better for us as well as for all of the community.
All right. Now, also backlinked to the great powers those models have. Sadly enough, Hollywood makes us sometimes scared with all those nice movies about singularity and super intelligence. How do you personally think about that? How far are we going to get?
Yeah, I think these concerns are a little bit overblown for where we are today. Right now, we really have what are very intelligent prediction machines. We don't have sentient thinking machines and beings. As a company, and myself included, I think we've said many times, I fully believe the fact that there is a huge difference in a prediction machine of what we have today to something that can do planning and something that actually remembers and has a reward system. All of those things that the human brain does, really a small child can do very easily, whereas these, very powerful, but still very structured models just can't do. And so we think that there's still a long time away between where we are today with a really interesting prediction machine to where the doom and gloom scenario is played out.
Well, let's try to keep that in control, right?
Yeah.
You've already told us that within Meta, you're having some kind of internal search where you probably already make use of these kind of Llama models.
Yeah. So
Are there,
So at Meta, we're actually using generative AI and Llama 2 in not just our consumer-facing applications, as I talked to you about that with what we're doing with what we call our Meta AIs that we show then in our messaging apps like Messenger and WhatsApp and Instagram Direct. That's for the consumer. But we also drink our own champagne as we internally as well. And so we have multiple use cases where we're using generative AI to improve our own productivity. I'll talk about two of those. One is for coding. So we have a coding assistant in C, Python, and other languages as well that our coders are using to improve their productivity, both as coding assistants, fill in code, but also as develop code from scratch. So that's one example. The second is it's essentially intranet search and summarize. And so we've deployed a platform based on Llama 2 that helps aggregate information based on any query that a user might have, that pulls from old wikis, pulled from internal documents, pulled from posts that somebody might have done on a recent success, etc., and is able to aggregate that as part of a response, but in a very structured way through Llama 2.
What do you expect yourself in the next couple of months? We're not even going to say years.
So, first of all, we're starting to see continued innovation at the model layer, but also continued innovation of bringing out things in the use case layer. So, we've talked about creativity and being able to, you can tell a model, write a poem for me. But, many times people would actually want to write something as a draft and just have it sound better. And so rewrite is probably a more interesting use case than write from scratch. And so I think we're going to start to see at the use case level continued innovation on different ways users can use Gen AI without knowing it's Gen AI, but also kind of augmenting their already creative process. I would say that's probably the biggest trend in the next 6 months, augmenting your own creative process with Gen AI. At the model layer, underneath that, I think there's two major areas we're going to see continued innovation. One is multimodal models. The ability for a model to understand and generate textual data, speech, images, soon video. Technology can do this right now, but to make this more efficient, that's the real creativity that's going on from the AI science and engineering perspective. So multimodal models is one area. The second area, I think, is the ability and really the really interesting work going on where small models are getting more and more powerful. It used to be you needed, a 70 billion parameter model. You needed a 100 billion parameter model to actually come up with a really good response. But what we're starting to see is that some of the innovation going on inside the model architecture, the way you're curating the data set, less is sometimes more, even in the data sets, and will actually result in a smaller model. For example, a 7 billion parameter model that rivals some of the bigger ones. And this is really important because with the smaller models, that means as an enterprise or as a company, you can actually afford to run the models more for these use cases without actually shelling out a lot of money in data center costs. And then also it's going to end up showing up in all kinds of devices like your laptop, your mobile phone. And so you'll be able to, as a company, you'll be able to make trade-offs to whether you want to run the model in the cloud, whether you want to run it on your laptop, whether you want to run it even on your mobile phone.
Yeah, for the ones, for example, who have privacy issues, that it stays
That's right.
at the device.
So as a privacy issue, so as a really good example, if you have your specific calendar, you have your encrypted messages, you may still want a personal assistant to be able to have all that context, but you won't want that to leave your phone or your laptop.
Exactly. Now, what advice would you be able to give for any developer or CEO what do they need to look into concerned to AI?
So, I think the biggest trend and the biggest advice I could say is utilize the best tools at hand. Don't just utilize one thing because it's the most popular. There's a right tool for the job. So even when you're thinking about, within the world of AI, we believe there's going to be lots of different types of models that actually serve specific niches that then a startup could actually take and then iterate on, right? The other thing I would say is go to where the community is. And what I mean by that is, what is the community looking to make better? Where are the tools around a specific set of models, et cetera, so you as a startup can get your job done faster, or you as a developer can deliver that project quicker to the enterprise wherever you work. So, finding the right model for the job, as well as finding the right models that have a community of tools and experts around it. These are going to be the table stakes in 2024 to being able to move quickly and still bring innovative use cases to market. Because at the end of the day, whether you're a consumer or whether you're in business, you just are using it to either solve a problem or do something interesting and innovative, right?
Okay. Thank you very much, Sy, for this very interesting interview. We hope to see more from Meta also in the future and see what else is coming up within their own tools, but also internally. So thanks for your time, and we hope to meet you another time.
Awesome. Thank you. And I look forward to our partnership that we have with